Today we're going to be having a look at how to install mesh onto a Klip-Lok style roof. Now we're going to be installing it right near the edge of the roof sheet, and we're going to be using steel mesh. We're going to be using these saddles to install it. Now the tools you're going to need a drill, 1/4 inch nut setter, and also some tin snips. Let's jump onto the Klip-Lok roof and we'll show you how to do it. First thing we're going to do is roll the mesh out so we've got a nice flat section of mesh. Then we're going to start on the gutter side. We're going to put our trim on, put in the first screw, and then put in the last screw. And then we're going to come through and put the central screws into each of those trims. They're typically 1 meter long. And then just continue along that run of roof, just butting the trims up next to each other, as we're doing here. Now the thing we're doing here is actually trimming off a section of mesh off the top so it sits a little bit lower on the roof sheet. You might have to do this depending on where your roof screws are as well. Now the first thing we're going to do is cut these notches in the mesh. We're cutting the notch about the same width as the base of the rib on the roof sheet. And you'll see what I mean in a minute when we show you how to press it into position. So we're going to go through, put these notches along this run of roof, along this section. Now we're just going to massage the mesh into position so it ends up sitting really nicely in the pans and over the top of the ribs. So we're just sort of massaging it into position, and you can see we're just sort of half creasing the mesh so we know we can slot it in really nicely in a moment. So this is what it looks like before we go through and press it into position, like here. Now you can see it doing that pre-crease has made it really easy to come through and press these down into the pan, and also to press that notched section over the top of the rib. Then we simply come through with the saddles, screw them into position, note the direction that the saddle is sitting, and also note the position where it's sitting against the top of the mesh. This is really going to hold the mesh nicely into the pans of the roof sheet. Now one thing I should note is the width that you cut those slots, you might want to cut it a tiny bit wider than we've cut here, just to make sure that you don't get any splaying of the mesh in the corners there. That's especially important if you're in a bushfire zone. But this is what the finished product looks like. It's a really neat install. It's a really easy way to install mesh on a Klip-Lok roof or any sort of roof which has got this sort of locking profile.